The envelope hit my doorstep like a grenade, its edges crisp and unyielding against the faded welcome mat of my Brooklyn walk-up. Inside, 2 first-class tickets to LAX stared back at me, mocking the ghost of the man who'd scrawled them into existence. Nathaniel, my Nathaniel, or at least the version of him I'd buried under layers of unanswered calls and half-hearted texts. "Come find me, Caleb," the note read in his looping script, the ink bleeding just a little at the edges like tears he wouldn't shed. "I can't forget loving you. Can you?" I crumpled it in my fist right there on the stoop, the autumn chill biting through my thin hoodie as sirens wailed down Flatbush Avenue. A symphony for the broken. 3 years we'd built something real in this city of concrete dreams. Late-night diners in the village, stolen kisses on the F train. His hand steady on my back during those family Thanksgivings where my folks pretended not to notice how we fit together like puzzle pieces warped by the humidity. But then Hollywood called, that siren song of spotlights and scripts, and Nathaniel chased it west, leaving me with a promise that tasted like ash. "It's just for a season, babe. We'll make it work." A season turned into 2, then a chasm wide as the Mississippi. His calls grew sparse, his "I miss yous" laced with static. Last I'd heard, he'd landed a role in some indie flick about lost boys. Ironic that, and whispers from mutual friends painted pictures I didn't want. Him at rooftop parties in Silver Lake, arms slung around some producer type, laughter echoing like it used to with me. Betrayal? Maybe not outright, but the silence was its own knife, twisting slow in the gut. And now this? Tickets like a lifeline or a noose. I paced my cramped apartment that night, the radiator hissing like it was mocking me too. Posters of old Springsteen concerts peeled from the walls. Nathaniel's taste, not mine. And the bed we shared still sagged in the middle, a crater of absence. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Mia, back in Philly. "Heard from Nate? Mom's asking." I typed back lies about being fine, deleted them, typed nothing at all. By dawn, the tickets burned a hole in my pocket, and I was booking the subway to JFK, heart hammering like a freight train. What the hell was I doing? Flying across the country to chase a ghost who'd maybe already moved on. But love's a stupid beast, isn't it? It drags you kicking and screaming into the unknown, whispering that maybe, just maybe, the pieces can fit again. The flight was a blur of recycled air and bad coffee. My reflection in the window a stranger's. Hollow cheeks, eyes shadowed from too many nights scrolling his Instagram, liking posts of sunsets over the Pacific that weren't mine to share. LAX hit me like a fever dream. Palm trees swaying against a sky too blue for regrets, the hum of freeways stretching endless. I rented a beat-up Mustang. Cliché? Sure, but it felt right. Wind in my hair as I gunned north on the 101, the city unfolding like a promise Nathaniel used to make. "We'll drive the coast someday," he'd say, fingers laced with mine over greasy In-N-Out fries. You, me, and the horizon. San Francisco welcomed me with fog and bite, the kind that seeps into your bones. I checked into a motel off Lombard Street, the kind with neon signs flickering vacancy, like a bad joke. No word from him yet, just the notes echo. I showered off the travel grime, pulled on jeans and a flannel. His flannel, the one he'd left behind, and headed out into the dusk. The bridge called to me, that rust-red icon spanning the bay like a dare. I parked haphazardly, feet carrying me across the span before my brain could catch up. Tourists milled about, snapping selfies against the haze, but I felt invisible, a shadow chasing echoes. That's when I saw him, leaning on the railing halfway across, silhouette sharp against the dying light. Nathaniel turned at the sound of my footsteps, boots on iron grating like thunder in my chest. His hair was longer now, tousled by the wind, and that jawline I traced 1,000 times clenched tight. "Caleb," he breathed, voice cracking like old vinyl. No smile, just raw hunger in his eyes, the kind that strips you bare. "You son of a bitch," I spat, closing the distance in 3 strides, the tickets thrust into his chest like accusation. 3 months of radio silence. And this is your grand gesture? What? Did your conscience finally mailman its way back east? He didn't flinch, just caught my wrist, his touch electric. Familiar fire. "I had to see if you'd come, if it was real." Rain started then, fat drops splattering the deck, turning the world blurry. Around us, the bridge hummed with traffic, lives rushing by while ours hung suspended. Real. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. You left, Nate. You chased the lights and left me in the dark. I waited, every damn day, telling myself it was temporary. Then your friend Jake texts me a photo, you at some premiere, arm around that co-star. Smiling like I never existed. His face crumpled, hand tightening on mine. It was nothing. Press, Caleb. A photo op god. I've been an idiot. He pulled me closer, the rain soaking us through, his breath warm against my temple. I thought distance would make it easier to let go, but it didn't. It made me realize I can't. We stood there, locked in that storm, the bay churning below like the mess inside me. His lips brushed my forehead, soft, tentative, and for a heartbeat, I let myself remember. The way he'd hummed Dylan in the shower, off-key and perfect. The quiet mornings in our tiny kitchen, his head on my shoulder as we scrolled job listings together. But memory's a thief stealing the present. I shoved him back, gentle but firm. Words are cheap, Nathaniel. You broke us. How do I know this isn't just guilt? He searched my face, rain streaking his cheeks like tears. Because I sold the script. Quit the gig. I'm coming home. The words landed heavy, a lifeline tossed into the gale. Home. To me? To New York? Or just a word? Empty as the envelope that started this madness? We didn't kiss, not yet. Instead, we walked, arms brushing, the bridge's cables slicing the sky like unanswered questions. He told me fragments. The loneliness of Ella nights, scrolling through our old photos until dawn. The producer who'd pushed too hard, too close, and how he'd walked away because it felt wrong without me anchoring him. I betrayed you by not fighting harder, he admitted, voice low over the wind. Not for us. By the time we reached his car, a sleek Tesla that screamed his new life, I was shivering, not just from cold. He draped his jacket over my shoulders, the scent of him, cedar and salt, wrapping around me like forgiveness I wasn't ready to give. Stay tonight, he said, not a plea but a prayer. Let me show you. The motel room was a time capsule, thin walls echoing the city's pulse, a single lamp casting golden pools on the bed. We didn't touch much at first, just sat on the edge, knees knocking, sharing a six-pack from the corner bodega. Stories spilled out like confessions. My promotion at the graphic design firm that felt hollow without him to celebrate. His audition horrors, the rejection letters piling up like snowdrifts. Laughter crept in, tentative then real, about the time we got lost in the Catskills and ended up at a drag brunch instead of a hike. As the beer warmed us, his hand found mine again, thumb tracing the callus on my palm from endless sketches. I love you, Caleb, he whispered. Eyes locked on mine, no evasion. Not the idea of you, the mess. The guy who burns toast and argues about Scorsese films at 2 a.m. My throat tightened, the weight of it all crashing down. I love you too, but it scares me. What if the distance wins next time? Then we fight it together. He leaned in, forehead to mine, breath mingling. The kiss, when it came, was salt and rain and home. Slow, deep, a reclamation. Not fireworks, but embers reigniting, warm against the chill. We fell asleep tangled, his heartbeat steady under my ear, the tickets discarded on the nightstand like shed skin. Dawn crept in gray and forgiving, coffee brewing in the motel's ancient pot. But as I stirred, phone buzzing with Mia's worried check-in, a shadow lingered. Was this real? Or just another scene in Nathaniel's script, destined for rewrite? The drive down the coast the next day was Nathaniel's idea, a pilgrimage to stitch us back together 1 mile marker at a time. Highway 1 unspooled like a ribbon of redemption, cliffs plunging to the Pacific, waves crashing white and furious below. He drove, one hand on the wheel, the other laced with mine over the console. Radio tuned low to some Americana playlist he'd curated. Springsteen crooning about Thunder Roads, fitting for the storm we'd weathered. I want to show you where it all went wrong, he said after an hour of comfortable silence, pulling off at a scenic overlook near Big Sur. The air was sharp with eucalyptus and brine, gulls wheeling overhead like scouts for lost causes. We hiked a short trail to a bluff, wildflowers nodding in the breeze, and there, perched on a weathered bench, he unloaded the full weight of his exile. It started innocently enough, he confessed, the move to LA in February, right after that brutal winter storm dumped 2 feet on the city. Auditions were gold at first. Callbacks for a Netflix pilot, drinks with agents who promised the world. I was high on it, Caleb. The rush. Told myself it was for us, better gigs, bigger paychecks to build that life we talked about. House in the Hudson Valley. Maybe a dog named after Bowie. I nodded, staring out at the ocean's endless churn, trying to picture it. But then the isolation hit. New York has this pulse, you know? People packed in tight, stories bumping into each other. LA's spread thin. Everyone in their bubbles, chasing solos. He paused, kicking a pebble over the edge. I started saying yes to things I shouldn't. Parties to network, late nights with the team. That photo with Alex, the co-star? It was one drink too many, his hand on my shoulder for the cameras. But you saw it and I didn't call to explain. Thought you'd trust me. Trust. The word hung between us like sea mist. I did trust you, I said, voice rough, until the silence made me doubt everything. Your texts stopped feeling like love notes and started like obligation. I felt disposable. He winced, turning to me, eyes stormy as the surf. You weren't. Never. But I got scared. The role I landed? It was this intense drama about a guy unraveling. Parallels hit too close. Made me question if I was dragging you into my mess. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing my stubble. I pushed you away to protect us. Stupidest thing I ever did. We sat there until the sun dipped low, painting the water molten gold. On the way back to the car, he stopped, pulling me into a fierce hug, his chin on my shoulder. Promise me something? No more distance. Not the miles, not the emotional kind. Promise? I murmured, meaning it, even as doubt flickered like distant headlights. Carmel by the Sea was our pit stop that night. A quaint inn with fireplaces crackling and rooms overlooking cypress groves. Dinner was seafood at a hole in the wall, clams steaming in garlic butter, our feet tangled under the table like teenagers. We talked dreams again. My exhibit at a Soho gallery coming up, his pivot to writing screenplays born from our story, he joked, but his eyes said truth. Laughter flowed easy, but under it simmered the tension, a live wire waiting for a spark. It sparked that night, after we'd tumbled into bed, wine loose and warm, not in passion's blaze, but in vulnerability's quiet fire. Lying face to face, his fingers tracing the scar on my collarbone. From a dumb bike crash in Prospect Park, the one he'd fussed over like a mother hen, I asked the question gnawing at me. What if you regret coming back? The industry's pull is strong. I've seen guys like you get chewed up and spit out. He propped on an elbow, moonlight slanting across his chest. Then we adapt. Together. Remember that weekend in the Poconos? Power out, no signal, just us and a deck of cards? We survived that. We can survive this. Memory flooded. Rain lashing the cabin, strip poker turning into truth spilled over candlelight. His fear of never measuring up to his director dad's shadow, my terror of turning into my absent father. We'd emerged stronger, bonded in the dark. Yeah, I whispered, pulling him close. We can. But dawn brought the call that shattered the fragile peace. Nathaniel's phone buzzed on the nightstand, insistent as a hornet. He groaned, answering with a sleepy, yeah. His face drained of color as the voice on the other end, tinny but urgent, crackled through. What do you mean, recast? I turned it down weeks ago. I sat up, sheets pooling around my waist, watching the storm brew in him. He paced the room, naked vulnerability on full display, voice rising. No, listen, I told Marla I was out. Personal reasons. A pause, then defeat. Shit. Okay. I'll think about it. He hung up, sinking onto the bed's edge, head in hands. The pilot. They held the spot, thinking I'd come around. Now the network's breathing down their necks. Deadlines tomorrow. My stomach twisted. And it's the break I've been chasing. Lead roll, exposure. But it means staying. 6 months, minimum. His eyes met mine, pleading. I don't want it without you. The room closed in, the ocean's roar mocking us through the window. Conflict roared back. The betrayal of circumstance, not intent, but cutting just as deep. You said you quit. I accused, voice steady but heart fracturing. Sold the script. Was that bullshit? No. God, no. He grabbed my hands, desperate. This is fallout. They won't let go easy. Rain pattered the roof now, a dirge for decisions unmade. I pulled away, dressing in silence, the flannel chafing like regret. I came here for us, Nate, not to watch you choose again. The door clicked behind me soft as a goodbye, but I didn't look back. Outside, the coastal fog swallowed me whole, mirroring the blur in my chest. Hours blurred into a haze of solo wandering. Coffee shops in Monterey, sketches in my notebook of twisted pines and hollow waves. Each line a vent for the rage bubbling up. Betrayal wasn't just his silence anymore. It was this pull, the industry's greedy maw refusing to release him. By afternoon, I was at a beachside payphone. Yes, they still exist in these parts. Calling Mia, her voice a lifeline across the miles. Come home, Cal, she urged. Let him figure his shit out. But home felt fractured too without him. As dusk fell, my phone lit up. A voicemail from Nathaniel, voice raw. I turned it down. Again. Told them to recast for good. I'm all in, Caleb. Meet me at the bridge? Same spot. Please. The Mustang's engine roared to life, carrying me north through twilight, heart a war drum. Fog thickened as I approached, the Golden Gate a spectral giant. He was there, drenched from an earlier squall, tickets from days ago fluttering from his pocket like white flags. I chose you, he said simply, arms open. Every time. I crossed to him, the iron cold underfoot, and let the fight drain out in a crushing embrace. Don't make me regret believing that. Never. His kiss was salt-stung, fierce with the promise of scars earned. But as we drove back south, city lights winking like conspirators, a new shadow loomed. Unbeknownst to us, Jake, Nathaniel's so-called friend from the east, had been stirring pots, feeding me those poisoned photos not out of malice, but jealousy unspoken. His texts to me that night, ignored in the heat of reunion, hinted at depths we hadn't plumbed. The real betrayal? It was just warming up. The return to New York was a gauntlet of goodbyes and hellos. The cross-country flight a pressure cooker for souls still tender. Nathaniel cashed in his LA favors for a one-way ticket beside me. His knee pressed to mine in the narrow seats, a silent vow amid the turbulence. We landed at JFK under a slate sky, the city's jagged skyline a jagged comfort home, battered but ours. My apartment waited like an old friend, dust motes dancing in the slanted light as we hauled his single duffel inside. Missed this chaos, he grinned, collapsing onto the couch, pulling me down with him. The space felt fuller already, his laughter bouncing off the walls, chasing shadows. We ordered Thai from the spot on the corner. Pad see extra spicy, just how he liked, and ate cross-legged on the floor, toasting with cheap beer to fresh starts. No more running, he said, clinking bottles. We're in this script together. Nights blurred into a rhythm rediscovered. Him at the kitchen table scribbling notes for his next project. A coming-of-age tale about two guys navigating the chasm between ambition and love. Me sketching layouts for the gallery show, his critiques sharp but loving. Mornings were lazy, coffee steaming as we read the Times aloud, debating headlines over burnt toast. It felt mended, the cracks sealed with quiet acts. His hand on my lower back in crowded subways, my thumb tracing his knuckles during phone calls with his agent, who grumbled but eventually warmed to the Eastern pivot. Yet doubt lingered, a low hum like subway rumble. Jake's texts piled up, unread at first, then dissected in stolen moments. Just looking out for you, Cal, one read, attached to a screenshot of Nathaniel's old email chain with the producer. Flirty banter I'd never seen. Words like, drink soon? That twisted like barbs. He didn't tell you about this, did he? Jake's follow-up. Knew he was playing both coasts. I confronted Nathaniel over dinner one night, the evidence spread on the table like a crime scene. His fork paused mid-air, color draining. That was before networking, nothing more. But his eyes darted, the tell I'd learned in our early days, when poker faces failed him. Networking with heart emojis? I pressed, voice steady but cracking at the edges. The betrayal landed fresh, not the act but the omission. The secrets he'd carried west like unchecked baggage. You said it was nothing. But this is you hedging bets while I waited like a fool. He shoved back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. I was scared, okay? The pressure, everyone watching, waiting for me to crack. I flirted to keep doors open, but I never crossed that line. Not with him, not with anyone. His voice broke, hands raking through his hair. I came back for you. Isn't that proof? Proof. I laughed, hollow. It's damage control. How do I know there aren't more skeletons rattling around LAX? The words hung toxic, our safe haven fracturing under the weight. He stormed out, door slamming like finality, leaving me with cold curry and colder rage. Days stretched taut, a cold war in our shared space. He'd crash on the couch, me in the bed, silence thicker than the November fog rolling in off the harbor. Mia called, sensing the fracture. Don't let pride win. Little bro loves messy. Fight for the human in him. Her words echoed as I wandered the city alone, pounding pavement from the High Line to the Battery, sketching strangers' faces to remind myself connection was possible. The climax hit on a Friday, rain-lashed and raw. I ducked into our old haunt, a dive bar in the East Village, neon luckies buzzing wetly, for a solitary whiskey. The door swung open, and there was Jake, drenched and determined, spotting me like a hawk. Caleb, we need to talk. He slid onto the stool beside me, ordering a neat scotch, his boy-next-door charm now edged with something sharper. I did it for you, he started, unprompted. Those photos, the emails. Nathaniel's been stringing you along since college. Remember sophomore year? He ghosted you for that theater kid. History repeats. I gripped the glass, knuckles white. Why? What's your angle? Jake's laugh was bitter, eyes dropping to the scarred bar top. Because I love him too. Always have. Thought if I showed you the truth, you'd walk, and I'd have a shot. Confession spilled then. Years of quiet pining. Jake the reliable friend nursing wounds in the wings. No malice, just desperate humanity, the kind that blinds. I left him there, rain sluicing down my face as I bolted through the streets, heart a thunderhead. The apartment light glowed like a beacon, Nathaniel silhouetted in the window, pacing. I burst in, soaked and shaking, words tumbling. Jake told me everything. His face, shock, then resignation, crumbled. I knew he'd crack. God, Caleb, it was puppy love, ancient history. I chose you then and now. He crossed to me, hands gentle on my arms. But I get it. The lies, the half-truths, they eroded us. I won't beg. Just tell me what you need. What I needed was truth, raw and unvarnished. We talked till dawn, confessions carving deeper than before. His insecurities, my fears, the ways we'd both betrayed ourselves by not communicating. No heroes, just two flawed men piecing a mosaic from shards. By morning, exhausted but unburdened, we curled together on the couch, his head on my chest, the rain a lullaby outside. The gallery opening came 2 weeks later, a crisp December night in Soho, fairy lights strung like stars over exposed brick. My pieces hung proud, urban landscapes laced with intimate figures, echoes of our journey. Bridges spanning divides, horizons bending toward each other. Nathaniel stood beside me, hand light on my back, whispering encouragements as collectors murmured approval. Mia arrived with Mom and Dad, their presence a quiet milestone. No fanfare, just nods and hugs that said acceptance in gestures. Proud of you, son, Dad rumbled, clapping Nathaniel's shoulder like an old ally. Progress, hard won. As the crowd thinned, Nathaniel pulled me to the rooftop terrace, city sprawl glittering below. This is it, he said, pressing a small box into my palm. A key simple and silver. To the Hudson place. Our place. If you'll have me. Tears pricked, not from sorrow but release. Yeah. I breathed, kissing him under the winter stars. Let's build it. Months later, the house took shape. Creaky floors, a sunroom for his writing, a studio for my art. We adopted that Bowie named Mutt, walks along the river turning ordinary into sacred. Betrayals faded to lessons, conflicts to strength. Love, we learned, isn't a straight script. It's improv, messy and magnificent, demanding presence over perfection. In the end, it wasn't happily ever after, but humanly ever after. Two souls, scarred and steadfast, choosing each other across every divide. And in the quiet nights, his arm around me, I knew we'd never forget loving, because we'd never stop trying.